Poverty is the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient in amount. Well, that's what Google says.
Poverty is simply not having a platform to be heard. Poverty is an audience you cannot drown out.
Poverty is the deprivation of opportunities. Poverty is a microcosm of society. Poverty isn't the absence of smartphones. Poverty isn't just the lack of trendy clothes or not having anything to call your own.
Poverty isn't your only circumstance, it's your attitude. Poverty is not failure. We were introduced to poverty through the absence of diversity within the curriculum and its misleading image of society.
We are taught books equal freedom, but who is the freedom for? Funding for books in deprived areas, little to none. Books that break stereotypes, little to none. But we say it's time for teachers to expose us to the opportunities diverse literature brings, to the opportunities of a wider landscape, to the opportunities of a brighter future. Today you can make us a reader, and tomorrow a leader.
We were introduced to poverty through the absence of our voice. We're always told to speak up, but how often are we heard?
Our voices are yet to be discovered. We strive for opportunities. So let's hold up a mirror to society. And what do we see? It's the future of our voices. Just let me speak.
We were introduced to poverty at age 3. 30 million words yet to be seen. Tell me how my word has already been scripted out for me. Don't take my pen from my hand, but instead give me the paper, give me the words, give me the choice to apply my voice.
Poverty isn't a burden. Poverty isn't a color. Poverty isn't living in Africa. Poverty isn't the end, it's a beginning. Poverty is a pathway to bright ideas. Poverty is a chance. Poverty is challenged by our voices. Poverty is not our last destination.
When it comes to literacy and poverty, we're fully aware that they are intrinsically linked, and the statistics are there for us all to digest quite soberingly around if you are born into poverty, your opportunities and life chances are restricted if you aren't given those opportunities by those around you. I think as teachers working in particularly deprived areas where we're all fully aware of the impact living in poverty has on a young person's literacy levels, whether that be their vocabulary, their ability to speak confidently, the impact low literacy levels have on their well-being, and therefore as teachers we have the moral duty to make it a priority in every single one of our lessons.
So we have our students who struggle with literacy who just really struggle to get started, whether that's extended writing or through a conversation. And so if I have students in an intervention programme and I can see them in the classroom producing more in terms of their extended writing output or through their conversation or just deciding to engage in that conversation in the classroom, then that's where that sense of, yes, this is working comes into place.
If you aren't taught literacy at a good quality, then you would not be able to communicate with others and you'll just be isolated in a way.
I believe literacy can combat racism because when you are given the words to define what you are going through, then other people can hear you.
I think society benefits from literacy skills being taught well because it sort of bridges the gap between different minorities. For example, those from lower income backgrounds and even like people of colour. I think it helps bridge the gap and sort of even the world's playing field.
So I think literacy can bridge the gap between the rich and the poor because it's almost like a superpower. I think that literacy enriches my life because I learn new things from it. It helps me communicate with people better in all types of environments, and it equips me for the future.
I do think literacy can affect your well-being because, for example, when you're stressed, you can pick up a book and escape from all that stress and calm yourself down, and when you're ready and calm down, you can go back to the real world and face the stress with a fresh mind.
Well, I think that without the ability to read, write and speak, I'd be lost because reading and literacy is the root and foundation of life. Who am I without the ability to express myself, without the ability to communicate to others, to do my hobbies?
Without words, we would be silent.
Without words, we would be lost.
Without words, we would be in chaos.
Without words, we would be unimaginable.
Without words, we would be isolated.
Without words, we would be unaccomplished.
A world without words would be a world without sunlight. Language provides a foundation for thinking and learning, and increasingly we're finding that children are coming to school, starting school, particularly after the pandemic, with delays in the development, in their language development. So we have prioritized the teaching of phonics in early years and Key Stage 1, and throughout the school, teaching oracy, speaking and listening is a priority for us.
I believe it's crucial that children have distinct and robust instruction in vocabulary to help build on their verbal and written communication. And at our school, it's particularly important as most of the children come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So having that explicit vocabulary helps them to build on their cultural capital and provides them with stepping stones for future endeavours.
I think the impact literacy has had on poverty is huge. It's got the power to increase the gap or close the gap, and we're all about closing the gap. So having our children access to those books where characters, stories, personalities reflect them is fundamental. It opens the doors, increases their opportunities, it gives them that freedom of choice.
To read a book, it's a good feeling, yes, but to write your own thing or version of the book just feels like, yes, I'm finally doing something, just not reading other people's stuff. I'm making something for other people to read. And when I find a good book that I like, I can't stop reading. Like, I have a Pokemon Black and White book at home. I also have the Legend of Zelda book, and I read them like so much times a day. The Legend of Zelda book is already 193 pages. Yeah, I've read it 3 times. Then again, the Pokemon Black and White book is 151 pages, and I've read it twice already. So I've read a lot of books.
I think that being able to read and write is vital because honestly, everything you do, everything around us, everything around me, you have to read or write. I want to be rather a doctor or a singer. So I think it's really important to have that vocabulary in your brain so that you can basically success in life and get a good job. I really came into London with a really, really basic English, but as I settled in, started reading, I almost always had to be pulled out of lessons so I could do phonics. And through that time, I started reading more books in English, which helped a lot.
My favourite part of literacy is when I get to do big writes, because when I get to do big writes, I get to just write down what I've been thinking for the whole week. I especially like writing narratives because when I write narratives, it just expands my imagination and it just makes me feel like I'm an author myself.
Reading makes me a person like who I am and what I am. Mind if I stand up for this? People are trying to go through to their life, become a manager, and maybe your old manager will retire. Maybe you would become the manager. That is because you read the book.
Libraries are vital in every academy because they help students access the powerful knowledge that they've been learning in their lessons. But libraries are also vital because they help students learn beyond the curriculum. They give the students the opportunity to learn about the things that they're interested in so they can develop their own passions. And I think perhaps most importantly is that libraries help students learn, develop empathy and compassion for people in the world, for the people in their family, for the people in their community.
Reading makes me curious.
Really makes me happy.
Reading makes me feel calm.
Reading makes me creative.
Reading makes me who I am.
Reading makes me empowered.
Reading makes me escape the reality I'm living in.
Reading gives me a sense of comfort.
Reading makes me feel focused.
Reading makes me feel inspired.